Hello ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Mythical Misfortune, bringing you another theory, this time on the FNAF series. This is all based on MatPat's latest theory on the FNAF series. Here is a link to the latest theory video and his channel. Please know that I am not trying to copy or steal any of his creative thought process, but add to it and question him on my findings to his based on his information and nothing more. My big addition to MatPat's theory is the puppet from the FNAF series is possessed by the spirit of William Afton. If Ennard is the husk formerly known as William Afton, Afton would need a new host body to make sure his son moves on or is alive, hence the puppet. We can also conclude some extra details, such as FNAF 2's Mangled is Funtime Foxy from the sister location game, after giving part of itself to Ennard, along with the fact that FNAF 2 is the first game we see the puppet in. We also can conclude from FNAF 2, based on MatPat's previous theory, that FNAF 2 is very closely connected to sister location, because it is the store that is connected to where William Afton closely worked with, alongside the distribution center that is probably close by to said FNAF 2 place. The other animatronics could excuse me, I'm just messing up all kinds today. I'm trying this whole script thing today. Please forgive me, guys. The other animatronics in FNAF 2 could be a mix of Ennard victims or victims of William Afton for his research in sister location. From Balloon Boy to the toy iteration of Freddy, Foxy, Chica, and Bonnie, they could be a mixture of both Ennard victims and William Afton's victims due to his research. If they are Ennard victims, they would be because of Ennard's mimicking of behavior due to it knowing that Afton also killed children. So thusly, to keep its own secret as an animatronic being inside of Afton's human shell, it would still continue on most of his behavior as long as it knew that behavior. Another giving tale of the puppet being William Afton would be in the Give Gifts Gives Life minigame, in which we see the puppet being the one giving gifts and giving life. The only way that the puppet would be able to know that is through the same process and research that William Afton would know. Thusly, because William Afton is the one that knew how to put human souls into inanimate objects based on his own research that he was trying to do for his son, we can conclude this as evidence that the puppet is William Afton. On top of which, based on all information presently given, at least to my knowledge, in the FNAF Theory series, there is no other accomplice to William Afton in researching said information. So until proven otherwise, that evidence stands as a very strong piece of evidence to suggest that the puppet is William Afton. More proof that the puppet is Afton is the picture of the puppet looming in the hallway of FNAF 3. Some people would write this off as the puppet trying to be Debo from the Friday movie series, but when we look at the evidence that Afton was a large man before the events of Sister Location, based on the book Silver Eyes, we can assume as a spirit, Afton would only remember how to walk in that same way. Similar to how people with missing limbs still feel pain from said missing limb as if it was there. A lot of this is based off of MatPat's theory, of course, being true, but if we do assume that, we have even more proof that the puppet is Purple Guy. In the NES style reunion of the kids at the birthday in FNAF 3, if we assume the crying child is among those kids, Afton is saying goodbye to his son one more time before sending him off by burning the place down in FNAF 3. With his research, we can also assume the reason why he would burn down the place in FNAF 3. If you're a fan of the Game Theory channel, you know about Gaijin Goomba and his culture shock videos. He did one on yokai that possess inanimate objects and that you need to burn the objects in question to purify them. There is a ritual in which happens in Japan yearly to properly purify and send off any objects that are in danger of becoming possessed yokai. The spirit of the kids still haunt the parts of the animatronics, and we know this through the residual haunts that happen throughout FNAF 3. As a quick side note, Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie are also residual hauntings from the employees injured from the spring-lock suits. The residual haunts or jump scares outside of Springtrap are shown because the kids still haunt the animatronics, and they are still coming for you dressed as the night guard as they did in FNAF 1 and 2. In order to set them free, the same ritual to purify the objects in danger of yokai possessing them is the same process to get rid of currently possessed objects, according to the same ritual and lore of the yokai that possess inanimate objects. We learned this from both my sources, at least, the Supernatural Science of Cambridge, and personally my favorite source of information based on them going off any lore for most supernatural creatures in the show called Supernatural. Fire is the only way to purify the possessed object. Thus, we can conclude with this that with the right amount of research that would have went into placing a soul within an inanimate object would follow along the lines of studying yokai that take over inanimate objects. We can safely assume that fire would also be a way to purify the spirits of the animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's. And with all of this, we can safely conclude that the puppet is possessed by the spirit of William Afton, at least in theory. With this, we have a few questions left though. Did the crying child see the first child die? Like, the very first child to ever die, was that the child that was seen by the crying child to die? If that is the case, it explains why we see the puppet jump scare when we see the first child technically die in one of the mini games of FNAF 2. Afton didn't want his son to see that, nor anyone else. Another question is, how has Innard fooled so many people for so long to be Afton, to continue to live as Afton up until the point where it gets hurt and damaged and becomes Springtrap? Another question is, did the fire in FNAF 3 damage or finish off Springtrap? Lastly, if FNAF 3 was supposed to be the end of the series as far as future parts of the story are concerned, and I am loosely using this based on what I've seen of the series and continuously going back further and further as a prequel, explaining more of the story that way, why do we not see the puppet mask or faceplate and the Springtrap mask or faceplate? My guess is that it's not over. Springtrap and the puppet have one more match to sell this once and for all. But hey, that's for MatPat to decide. Thought I was gonna do it, didn't you? Thought I was gonna do it. Nope, I know gimmick infringement. But in all seriousness, MatPat, please prove me wrong or right and dive into this more. I would really like to hear your take on this particular part of the theory. If William Afton could possess the puppet. Fans of FNAF Game Theory and the DSS, please tweet this video to MattPat at MattPatGT to see if this is right or if he even thought of this. As always guys, until next time, I'll see you next time. Have a God bless day.